Good evening, everybody. How are you all doing?
Hi.
Yeah, great. So I thought I'd ask. I'm from Birmingham, as you can tell. Anybody from Birmingham? I used to live in London, though, so you know. Okay. So I'm here today to talk to you about recognised black heritage and culture. But more importantly, as you've just mentioned, we're talking about the Windrush scandal. And I'm really glad, I will point out, thank you very much for supporting the Black Cultural Archives and the work that they did. Just Saturday, they had a project where 200 people turned up for consultation. This scandal is not going away. We don't even have the full numbers of the people involved. So I just want to come on to what I'm going to talk about. But again, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask you a really stupid question there. And the first person who actually answers the obvious is going to get thrown out. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to ask you, what is this? Does anybody recognise what it is? Hold on. Security. Okay, does anybody recognise what it is?
It's a ship.
It's a ship. Does anybody know the particular ship? I just said something. The Windrush. I should have asked you before. Yeah. Okay. So this is the Windrush. These are the people of the Windrush. These are the peoples whose dreams, fears, are still being recognised today. You may realise it's 2020, got that right. And these people are still having to fight for social injustice that was brought upon them through the British government's scandal. And what I want to bid today for is the Windrush Film Festival that we want to create. And the reason is, these people's stories aren't being told. They're not being told. A lot of people are asking, what is the Windrush? What is it about? Now, the people who run the Windrush served in 1948 in the Second World War. Like myself, I am a former soldier. I served in Falklands, not the war, I'm too young for the war as much as I love, but I also did serve in the First Gulf War. I was late to that, but that's a story you can ask me in the questions. So as you said, this is the actual picture that most people are familiar with, the Windrush, and these are their stories and dreams. So what are we looking to do? We want to create a Windrush Caribbean Film Festival. We also want to look at digital storytelling. It's been mentioned here tonight. Everybody you've heard has talked about stories of human emotion, human suffering. When I talk about the Windrush scandal, I will tell you, I won't shy away from it, people have died from lack of activity. I'm not going to lie, I can't tell you how many, but people have died by not having their papers, for those who are familiar with those stories. I also want to emphasise that what are we going to do with this actual film festival? Well, the idea is that we can, as you can see under it, celebrating Great Britain's DNA. Remember, Great Britain called the Caribbean people to come and fight during the war. It asked them, it invited them. Remember those words, it invited them to come to this country to help to rebuild it. And yet it treated those people in such a despicable way. And the irony is that in 2019, the British government, while they were trying to deal with Windrush scandal, actually went back to the Caribbean and said, we need more nurses to come to this country to help deplete to stop. In the middle of Brexit, you can imagine that as well. And the funny thing was, people in the Caribbean were going, hold on a second. I've seen this before. And this is what's happened as well. So we're draining the Caribbean from the NHS. What we want to do with the Windrush Film Festival is ask you to help us to actually preserve this information. And when I say preserve, there are films being done, there are documentaries, but we're asking you to help us with the past, the present and the future. And what does that mean, past, present and future? It means we're asking you to preserve those people's who I showed you on before, ask you to preserve their stories, to share them today, so that we understand it. I don't want people to look at those pictures and actually say, oh, Windrush, I think I know what it's about. I want you to be able to tell me exactly what it's about. This country needs to understand and be able to tell us all what it's about, why these people are here. And what I also want to do, which is the really important ask, is I want you to understand the future, the present. Because in 10 years' time, once we've all come out of this situation where we are right now, where we're in all right, we need to understand as well what happened to these people when they came here so we don't repeat it. But we also need to be able to give the young people today and in 10 years' time clear information of what the Windrush was and how it happened and what happened to those people, what happened to their dreams, their stories, what happened to their families, what happened to the generation after the generation. And what we've got to make clear is the Windrush generation generally is from 1948 to 1958. And then after that you hear most people say, I came on a plane, I didn't come on a boat. So it changes the actual narrative there as well. So we're asking for £7,500, of which we're looking to actually create this digital festival within a festival. And you're probably asking yourselves, which you can ask me the questions, why are we trying to create two parts of an actual project? Now, I want to bring you back to a personal story, because as you know, stories all generate around. So passenger 680 on the Windrush isn't a family member of mine, but I'm very good friends with the person whose son it actually is. And I want to tell you this for a little story when we talk about telling people stories. So he came here on the Windrush, he came to Birmingham instead of staying in London. And what he decided to do, he set up a family, they've got a great family, great people, not a problem at all. When he actually passed away, his son went into the loft and found his original case, his grip. And when I was talking about the little suitcase that came with, found the grip, and in that grip was all his documents and papers. The family didn't know what to do with it. They were just about to throw it into the skip when the nephew got wind of it and said, "You're not throwing that in the skip, it's part of our history." And what he was talking about, not just the family, it was part of Britain's history. Here were the papers and the documents of passenger 680, who, when you look at all the Windrush films, you see him on the videos. Has anybody seen the videos and films? Yeah, a few heads and nods, yeah. So you actually see him. So here it is, he's documented of this man coming from the Caribbean, from Jamaica, to the UK, and it's filmed when he gets here. And what's going to happen to that information? It's thrown away. Because you know what? Most British museums weren't interested in taking those artifacts. Sorry, got my words mixed up. So, I'm just going to end on this slide. Windrush 70. I've got 10 seconds here. Windrush 70. Pushing it. Windrush 70. It took 70 years for us to actually cause an actual recognition, an annual day for people to support the Windrush. 70 years. And it was only done out of shame. And even that is still something we're looking to get match funding from, which you can ask me in the questions for that part as well. So thank you very much for listening.